Hi, it's our show. Hi, face punching fans. Dallas and Eugene here.
Chaos.
60-minute chaos. We are going to attempt to stay somewhat on topic today and buzz through this weekend's
Not a
UFC
chance.
7 card. I figure if we just try to roll into it right away.
Well, so, some wag gave me a hard time online. He goes, "I like the show, but with the black guy stuttering, I couldn't take it."
I saw that in the last. I can't hear what that black guy is saying.
Well, and the thing is though, I can tell being a writer, I can tell by the tone and the timbre of the response if it's somebody I know personally who hates me.
Was it? Was it?
Oh yeah.
That was your timbre readout?
Yeah, it's like, there are some guys who have justifiable reasons for hating me, some who don't.
We'll get you some subtitles.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Anyway, this is actually sort of a compelling card. I am going to be there cage side, so I'm excited to be there. I'm going to be wearing a knuckle up shirt because that's always fun. Last time I did that, Joe Silva came over to me and asked me to turn it inside out. I said, you can see it on both sides. He goes, well, you got to take it off. I go, is it your idea that I sit here shirtless?
That'll be better for viewers.
Kept going, and I said, I'll tell you what, I'll wear any shirt you give me. And when the specter of giving me something for free raised its head, he was like, okay, well, just sit there.
Yeah, fuck that. Wear the knuckle up. No one knows what that is anyway.
Yeah, right, exactly. Anyway, all right, you got it.
Hey, wait, before we go, how are you? Are you going representing a certain media source? Is that how you're cage side?
Yeah, oh yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Who that?
No, I think I have a better chance of going as Vice for Vice because of the Fightland thing. I actually got invited to the Fightland debut party next Wednesday in New York, which I'm trying to use my flight miles to see if I can get to. Bloody Elbow, as far as I know, hasn't had any parties they've invited me to. Have you been invited to any Bloody Elbow parties?
No, old kid Nate would have to loosen up the purse strings for something like that, and that ain't happening. So, and if it was, it sure as hell wouldn't be for a party.
Kid Nate. I'm now going French on his name, Kid Nate.
I like that.
That kid's about 18 now. Isn't it time for, the guy's like paternity leave? This is crazy. What do you think? He's Sweden?
I think you got to consider the mental immaturity aspect, not as opposed to. It's so funny he's not here. We can just sit here and talk shit about him the whole time.
Right, exactly. Well, he's got to remember there's a difference between between a cat and a kid. I'm not sure what the difference is, but there's a difference.
Well, I'm a master of the cat aspect of that, so I can school him.
Oh, you're not a father?
No, a father of 3 cats, formerly 6 cats, 1 dog right now.
I am a father of 3, and if that's proof positive of the fact that the world is insane, I don't know. I don't know what is. Anyway,
and they're scrappers too, right? Your kids are all scrappers.
They all fight. They all fight. It was fantastic. And now my oldest is now high school wrestling, which is weird because her entire style has been framed by MMA. So she'll pull off stuff in a wrestling match that these other wrestlers haven't seen.
Yeah.
I love when she's fighting the boys, and the boys are like laughing at their bench, like, "Hey, I'll be back in a minute," and they are back in a minute.
All right, you ready to roll through this piece?
Let's do it. Let's do it. You want to start from the bottom or from the top?
Bottom.
Let's do it.
Bottom. All right.
If you start from the bottom, you display my colossal MMA ignorance, because which I'm okay with.
Might as well get that out of the way right off the bat then.
Everybody knows I'm ignorant already anyway. So.
Actually, I would be too if I didn't for a while. It was like 2-3 years I was doing dissections, and I don't think I missed like one part of the Tough Brazil card, and then I think one part of Tough Smashes, and everyone wanted to stab my eyeballs for not. But I caught everything, every other UFC fight, every UFC card, every Strikeforce card. And that's one reason why I had to lay off. It's so much work to keep up. I mean, they're constantly putting in new fighters. Actually, I didn't even know there's a pile of fighters dropping weight or jumping into a new weight class in this one too. So don't feel bad about that shit anyway. It's almost a full-time job to keep up with it. But bottom of the card, Clifford Starks versus Yoel Romero. And Romero, I didn't realize this, is dropping to middleweight for the first time.
Yeah, Romero. See, that's the thing. This was an infuriating set of picks for me because of the fact that, like, typically, if I know one fighter on the card, I think it's irresponsible for me to make guest picks. But instead, so what I've been doing is restricting my comments to when one of the fighters, say the fighter I do know, like Romero, does something interesting, like changing weight here. And now I'm curious about something. Do you think it is a tacit admission of failure if some guy changes weight class?
No, no. I mean, in some cases, yeah. I think right now the change in weight class is rare. I don't want to say rarely. It's not always strategic. Like it makes so much sense for me to move. It's more like I had a couple losses. I need a refresher. I need people to look at me with kind of a new chance, like almost like wiping the slate clean. Ross Pearson was a good example of a fighter that I didn't think should have dropped down, and he's back up. It'll be. I mean, Romero is a house, man. Freestyle, silver medalist in the Olympics for Cuba. Excellent stand-up. Kind of, when he fought Fei Zhao in Strikeforce, I was really looking forward to that fight.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, huge, monumental, 3 steps up in competition that was. And I mean, he got beaten soundly, but I think he showed signs that he can be a top-level fighter. The drop to middleweight, who knows? It could get him there. It could be a detriment. He's going to be, I imagine, hell on wheels like he always is for the first couple minutes. We'll see in the later rounds if that cut's going to drain him or not.
I think how I'm not okay. I don't say it's a tacit admission of failure, but I'm going to make the claim that it's always an emotional pick. Like, and by emotional I mean I feel like I would do better at such and such way. Or I mean, nobody thinks Pettis it's an admission of failure that he wants to fight Jose Aldo. I mean, he's just, he feels like this is a guy that he wants to go against. I don't know that it's driven necessarily by technical considerations, but I like Romero, and I think if memory serves me correctly, he's a friend of Knuckle Up. I think he's represented by Tina. So I'd had him on the show before, and I like the guy. I like his chances here, actually.
Me too. This should be, I don't want to say tailor-made matchup, but Starks is a big wrestler, fairly one-dimensional.
Yep.
He got a lot of play for some of the worst fight IQ ever when he fought Cody McKenzie, and just, I mean, Cody, has that McKenzie, and everyone knows it's coming, and he not only didn't defend it, but he let Cody play around with it for a minute, and you know what I mean, didn't even hand fight it off. So I know that left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, but his next fight after that, I don't remember who it was, but he looked a lot better. He's a great wrestler, big, strong. These are two big, strong dudes, but I think the difference is going to be Romero's stand-up. He's got a nice blend. It almost reminds me a little bit of Shootbox, a really nice blend of just raw, ferocity, but he's got some good technique too. So I think this is going to be close to a showcase fight for him. I'm definitely going to pick him with a finish by knockout or TKO.
Well, I'm sort of baffled about. I mean, I've been told that everything starts at 12:30, which seems to me to be crazy. But I'm guessing not. I'm seeing it from multiple sources. Actually, in the arena at 12:30. So some of these cards are starting at 12:30. The ones that are not dark start at 5. So it's
all right. So it's Cali time. This is in San Jose, which is 3 hours back from me. I'm in Eastern time, and the prelims start on Facebook. It's this and 2 others, so 3 on Facebook at 4 o'clock Eastern time, which would be 12:30 your time.
Yep. So
Ish.
yeah,
1
yep.
o'clock actually.
Yep.
I fucked up that math. Big numbers. I don't have a calculator, man.
They want your asses in the seat. So all right. So we're in agreement on this one.
Yep. How do you like that? You like them by decision, finish? You got to pick that.
I'd say by finish. If I'm going to take the safe bet, I'm going to take the the insane spread. The insane spread here is on finish.
I think it's a really good matchup for him. I think he's got a good chance to finish.
You people need to consider at this point in time, the peanut butter-esque substrate of all of these fights, which is, make no mistake, the cuts are not finished.
Right.
Yeah, no.
That's going to be a big leap for him. I got to imagine. I mean,
no. I'm talking about the UFC cuts.
Oh, right. Okay.
From my armchair arithmetic, they've not gotten close to 100 yet with the cuts. So they had a series of cuts last week again. to thinning the herd. And I think it's going to be a Stalin-esque 100. Like I mean, I think it'll be a constantly refreshing 100.
Yeah, I guess they had that one big exodus where they hacked a whole big pile, and then now I think about after every show they thin it out by a couple. I don't know, 4 or 5, something like
Yeah,
that.
but they're still. I still don't think they're over 50. So that means that they're halfway through.
So this is big time trials for everybody, a lot, and especially the Strike Force guys.
Yep. I think people. I mean, there's stuff that's happening. Like I said last week, what the fuck was Dana White doing over at the Stanford Business School? I don't know. Strange. Fox now is moving everything to Fox Sports 1. Strange. There's machinery moving, around us, behind us, shit that we don't even know. So yeah, if you can do yourself a favor as one of these guys on the card, fighting like your hair is on fire is probably the favor you should do yourself.
And that's what I like about the Strike Force guys. It's kind of like what I always say about Bellator fighters. They know that they've got something to prove, and they fight like that too. They don't fight like, oh, I need a save. I mean, they come out. I do. One thing I do like is how the UFC has really rewarded guys for valiant performances, because that's what I missed about Pride, the whole Budo thing, where it wasn't the win or the loss, it was the performance and the spirit of the performance. And I do really appreciate Dana White, especially, how there's a couple guys where you see him backstage in a loss and the guys are all broken up, damn, sorry I lost, and he'll straight up tell him, keep your head up, that was a great fucking fight, we'll bring it back. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, for some reason I've been thinking a lot. Oh, I know. I've been thinking a lot about Paul Daly and Josh Koscheck, that fight. That fight made me, and I'm thinking about it because I was training the other day, and I did something or said something that caused the guy I was training with to flip out. Like flip out. And I just been laughing about it all day, man. So I remember when Paul Daly, whatever Koscheck said right as the bell ended, it just flipped him out, and he punched Koscheck, and as Koscheck's walking away, he's got this great smile on his face. It's like, not only did I win this fight, but I cost you your job.
Yeah, master troll job right there.
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, I mean, Paul Daly, he had to be made an example of it at that point, but that was a prime example of, I remember that fight. I have to think a little bit harder to remember who won or who lost, but I thought it was a great fight. Yeah, so valiant performances. That wasn't an especially valiant performance, but it was a wrinkle in the fabric of the fight, that makes it so somewhat memorable. So anyway, okay, second one.
Roger Bowling, Anthony Njokuani, and Bowling is going back to lightweight. I believe he's fought at lightweight before. He fought a lot against Volker and at Strikeforce at welter, but he's back down to lightweight, which could be interesting.
I'm seeing. Hey, can you see me?
I can.
Okay, I'm assuming. How many listeners are on this? Maybe you should tell somebody.
9,000.
9,000. Okay, maybe one of the 9,000 could hit you up on the chat to let you know, because the screen just suddenly did something strange, and all I'm seeing is like a white space where I am. But anyway, so I'm going to go for Anthony on this one for reasons that aren't sound.
Really?
Yep.
I think there's a lot of sound reasons to pick him, but tell me why you're going to pick him.
There are sound reasons to pick him, but I'm starting to go with like the knuckle up karma, where I know if typically a guy who is talking to me is later going on and winning, and I go, well, why? It's because now his camp has become a well-oiled machine. He's doing the press, he's training, he's losing. These guys never come in overweight. They've got all the boats in a row. It's a rare guy who's come on my show and then gone on to lose. And I think it's a question of organization. And I've been seeing so much about Anthony these days. It's like I'm feeling well-oiled machinery. I don't think this guy wants to be among the cuts, and I'm feeling good about his chances.
I think he's just going to be too technical. He is a fucking time machine.
Yeah.
And he's fought a lot of tough guys, first of all, so I got to give him credit for that. That's why his record isn't, glistening with beauty or whatever.
Yep.
But, if you look back at when he fought Barboza and fought John Makdessi, that is some serious-ass stand-up. That is amongst the elite striking in MMA, especially when that dude is on.
Yep.
And he has, again, that really nice blend. You know, some guys are real technical in the gym, hitting the bag or whatever, and some dudes are just fighters. You know, it might not be pretty or the way the textbook says to do it,
Yep.
but it works in a fight. And I think he's got a real nice blend where his timing is good, his balance is phenomenal, and when he starts getting his rhythm and he can plant and start to put some power into his shots. I mean, especially after Makdessi, now that he's come on a little bit more, there were, I think, one or two rounds where he just shut Makdessi out. It wasn't anything huge. It wasn't a big head kick, but it was just a constant bam, 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 just chipped him down, chipped him away. So I like Bowling. I think that his best asset is his athleticism and his youth. I think he's got a long ways to go. I don't want him. He'll have a bright future. That's a better way to put it. He's got some polishing to do. You know what I mean? I think his athleticism and his physical attributes are his best right now. And once he starts to get a little more experience against top-level opponents, has a couple more years under his belt, training, I think he's going to come into his own. But I don't quite think he's there yet.
As a fighter prospect, you should know if anybody uses that phrase in conjunction with your name that you've got a bright future, they largely mean that you're not winning that fight. you got after tomorrow things will look great for you, but right now not so much, my friend, Mr. Bowling. So sorry, I agree with you. But okay, I'm going to start to move into contentious land. Let's get the third round pick. I'm going to see if I'm going to push the insanity boundary to see if we can't get some good action here in terms of an opposing mix.
Ruh-roh, kids. You heard
an
it
opposing
there.
Mix of picks.
All right, last card on the Facebook. This is where we get into it's a whole Team Alpha Male populace on the undercard here. Final Facebook card is TJ Dillashaw versus Hugo Viana.
Okay, well, shit. See, this is maybe on my picks on Knuckle Up earlier in the week, I picked TJ.
I'm going to take TJ too. Although,
okay.
You know, and that's too. You know, he was a guy. It's not that I didn't like him, but I really, you know, how there's a few guys whether it's potential or I think he got a lot of. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right.
Thanks.
Sorry to all our 9,000 listeners. No idea what happened there. It's pretty simple.
So TJ, you're making a claim for why we have the same pick once again.
Well, maybe I can be the contentious one because I have no problem with Dillashaw, but normally I was real impressed with Hugo too when he dropped down in weight. I mean he has got a shitload of decisions, strong guy, powerful. Didn't seem to have a lot of offensive potency, but he showed a lot of it there.
I love this shorthand, man. He's got a bright future. Offensive potency is another one.
Look, that's a legit. That's one of my favorite ones, man. You know what I mean?
Actually, you know, when I started out, I had a great degree of defensive proficiency, and you know, it's like I couldn't tap you, but I could keep from getting tapped. Yeah. So I mean, I understand the phrase well. You know.
Well, all right. Well, fuck it. I'll take Viana then if we're just looking to mix.
All right. Now we got some action.
All right.
by decision, or what are we looking at?
Yeah, I'll take him by decision.
Okay. All right.
That's a bit of a long shot, though. Actually, I had the bet. Let me pull up the betting odds for some of these because I meant to mention a couple of those.
Should check to see. Now I feel very much like Colonel Kurtz. You should check to see where Cecil Peoples is. You know, he is operating out there beyond any reasonable constraint. If he happens to be one of the judges on that fight, you know, this is precisely what all bets are off. That phrase is meant for. You know?
I didn't know where you were going with that one. Actually, so Dillashaw's Dillashaw's a big favorite, minus 380.
Okay, all right.
And as far as actually they don't have. I don't think they have odds for. Oh yeah, they do. Romero's. Actually, he's not as much of a favorite as I thought. Romero's minus 155. Njokuani's minus 170 favorite over.
All right, so our Vegas handicapping is matching up quite well with the guys who know what they're doing. All right, so bottom of the FX prelims. Real interested in this fight too. George Masvidal and Tim Means. Easy. Friend of Knuckle Up, George Masvidal. Picked.
Yeah, I was gonna go. I have a lot of, I guess, hope for George. It's not that I feel bad for him. He's been nipping on the edge of being, I guess, unanimously accepted as an A-level fighter. He got smashed over in Sengoku by Rodrigo Dam. He was supposed to, being groomed for the lightweight belt there. He was the victim of the sub of the year in Bellator, the inverted triangle. And then he lost that tough fight to Gill for the strike force strap, but he said afterwards his hand was broken, which kind of makes sense because he was not letting his hands go in that fight.
Yeah, you could see it very clearly. He wasn't letting his hands go, and was it a unanimous decision or was it a split decision?
It was unanimous. It was.
He's a tough guy, man. I'm always going to bet for the guy who used to live in his car. Live in his car, fighting backyard fights. That guy has no desire at all to go back to that.
Right. I like Means a lot, though. His stand-up, his reach. He's got some kind of like insane cartoonish reach length, which might be a factor. But I look for Means.
Sometimes a stand-up against a guy who's got good stand-up is just a way to get yourself in trouble faster.
I'll be interested to gauge. I would put George right up there with some of the best strikers, especially his boxing. When his boxing is on, he's fluent and he is nice. So I'll definitely look at Means here to be a good measuring stick for him. But I'll go Masvidal here. Game bread.
Also, I think it must be said up there with the Damoclesian sword of cuts to come. I think also that George Masvidal is in a must-win position given his most recent performances, which are the ones that stick with you. Yeah, he got a raw deal against Gill, but hand to no hand, man. That's the way it shakes out. So you gotta winning is a tradition. Get with the tradition, So.
All right. Let me list off the odds for that one. I'll try to start doing that for everyone. Where are they? All right, I don't know where they are right now, so let's go to the next one, and when I find them, I'll rattle those odds off. And I'm intrigued by this fight, too. Joey B., Joseph Benavidez versus Darren Uenoyama.
I got to go, friend of Knuckle Up, Darren Uenoyama.
Well, damn, man. I might have...
Bone crusher.
I was on the BC, yeah. I'm a big fan of his as well. I think he's seriously underrated, and the betting lines on this are silly. Minus 520 for Joey B.
Oh, they're crazy.
So plus 380 for, if they're so far as we're going that, for all the chance bettors out there, I'm not saying there's no question Darren's going to win, but if you're looking for a real nice, what I think are lopsided odds, that's a nice play right there. Uenoyama at 380.
Some statistician did a study regarding the sport in America that you could, it's a sport in America that you could make the most amount of money on. Like they've done breakdowns with lotteries. Like, is it Super Lotto? Is it Mega? Is it the Scratchers? Is it the Powerball? Where are your best odds of walking away with cash? What sport in America do you think you have your best odds of walking away with cash, with a win and cash?
You're talking about betting only?
I'm talking about betting for you degenerate gamblers out there. Which sport in America will if you routinely bet on it, will have you winning more often than you're losing?
Horse racing.
Wrong. College basketball.
No shit. College basketball. I thought you were going to say MMA. So.
Nope.
College basketball.
The idea being with college basketball, strangely enough, one of the big metrics that this guy uses is the ability of the athletes to be gotten to by shady underworld figures.
Really?
And apparently it's harder because the NCAA is harder to turn college kids just because what they lose is great and what they gain is the college kids who go for it are the ones who don't really have any realistic prospects for the NBA. And the ones who everybody who plays college ball who does well thinks they've got prospects for the NBA, so it's hard to turn them.
Did not know any of that shit.
I've gone down fun fact land for the express purpose of saying Darren's a good bet in this fight.
Yeah, he's a great bet, and my logic says that Benavidez is the better pick, but I think I'll take Joey B, even though I'm a big fan of Darren's, and I think I can't stress enough that the lines are whacked And I think Darren's going to give him a hell of a fight. I think he's going to get in a little trouble in the striking and wrestling department, both of those combined, because Benavidez is good at seaming both of those two together. I think he's got a little bit of an edge in both of those areas, and I think Darren's got way better submission grappling. His scrambling is sick. His transitions are sick.
Yeah, that's where. And I mean, keep in mind, you know, Darren worked for a long time at Fairtex as well, so his stand-up is not totally terrible, but his grappling is non-pariah. So I feel perfectly comfortable, even outside the whole friend and knuckle up thing, picking Darren. So.
Man, I feel bad doing that because it seems like I don't. But all right, anyways, I'll go ahead and be boring and take Joey B on that one.
All right, so we got action on that one too. All right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it interesting. All right, I'm hyped for this one too. Miles Jury, Ramsey Nijem.
Yeah, I remember this. I had no picks on this.
Miles Jury is a beast, man. He's one of the few guys who calls this gloomy abyss called Michigan his home. He's a killer, man. He came up king of the cage. He finished, I want to say, like his first, 7, 8 fights, almost all of them in the first round. Used to be a scrawny dude, but now he's, getting older, matured. He's trained with Alliance. He shocked me when he beat Michael Johnson. I mean, I knew Holloway was good, but that was something. Because I got respect for Michael Johnson and the way he's come along. And
my band has declared a moratorium on ever playing any shows again in Switzerland, with the exception of Geneva. We will not play Zurich. We will not play Basel. We will not play Bern. And we have done the same for your state of Michigan.
I don't fucking blame you. I have the same thing. I'm just trapped here, man. It's
one
of the worst places on earth, and I'm not exaggerating.
We played there with people with other bands who should have been big draws. We played there with Minor Threat and in Lansing, and we had like 18 people in the fucking audience, man. It's like, come on.
Where was that? Lansing. What's the name of the venue?
The name of the venue in Lansing, it was a community center, some basement of community center.
Oh, Lansing Community Center.
Right. So
they have Clutch Cargo over there, and then the Machine Shop in Flint.
We played Clutch Cargo, and then we played a show with Negative Approach in Detroit, and it's just been underwhelming, man. And I just did a spoken word thing there with Scott Kelly, the guitar player from Neurosis, and that was all right. So that was like and it was in Detroit maybe a year ago, and that was like the first thing that was like, whew. But Michigan, I don't know. I'll have to take my Bob Seger cover band there,
Mine too.
Yeah, but anyway, so you're picking Miles on this one. All right, for the sake of argument, I will pick against you, and so we got some action on that one too.
All right, yeah, Nijem's legit too. He's I still consider him. He's rounding out his stuff, doing a lot of stuff with the pit with Hackelman, but he's still strong with the wrestling edge, and I think Miles is going to be way too well-rounded for him.
All right, so
next up, Francis Carmont, Lorenz Larkin. Monsoon.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with this one, man. I don't know.
My gut is I really like Lorenz Larkin. I want him to win this. I don't have a good beat on Carmont yet. You know what I mean? Like the Lawler fight was weird. It was really underwhelming. I don't think he went out and took that victory. I think it was more that Lawler went out and tried to take it from him, and Carmont, like you were saying before about your grappling, he kind of shut down everything he did.
Yep.
But he didn't really land a lot of momentous offense in that fight. So anyways, I'm up in the air. He looks good after he dropped down. He's a big boy. I'm worried about his strength in the clinch and his wrestling, but I'm going to go Larkin just because I love the dude, one of the most exciting fighters around.
I think I picked Larkin as well in my picks this week, but I just don't know. I don't know. I don't feel I'm not, I'm standing away from betting cage on this one. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I love Larkin's stand-up because he's got such a unique mixture. It's like a cornucopia. Like he's got capoeira. He's got some sweet boxing. Like when he just settles in and tries to box, his hands are sweet. His kicks are nice too. So I can see Carmont being able to kind of grind him and muffle his offense a little bit with his size and his control.
Okay, so you taking Larkin or you going to take Carmont?
Larkin. I'm going to take Larkin.
Okay, all right. So we got no action. Okay, go next one.
Come on, take Carmont for fun. What the fuck? I did that for like 3
I got Carmont then.
All right. Support Canada.
Even if that deviates from what I said on my show, I'll take Carmont.
All right. There we go. All right. Top of the FX preliminary card, Darren Elkins, Chad Mendes.
Mendes.
Me too. I do think that this is another one that I want to say the betting lines were kind of crazy on this one. I do think Mendes is going to take this one. Holy smokes, Mendes is at minus 800. Elkins is at plus 500. That that might overtake, Darren's fight as far. I mean, that's Elkins is legit, man. He's really impressing me. He's hard nosed, man.
You think these guys like actually look at the odds and get fired up?
I know a couple dudes that did, and it pissed him off. Siad Wad from Bellator used to look at that, and of course he was like the ridiculous. I mean, he was a late insert in the tournament, but yeah, he told me he looked at that and it did piss him off. Wouldn't you do that?
You never know what motivates a guy. Whatever.
Yeah. So we both got Mendes there. Although I think Elkins is really tough. I kind of want to give him like a little hold up a little sign that says you're still good though, Or I mean, I think it's a tough matchup for him. He deserves a top. I mean, shit. People have been saying he deserves a top guy, and they throw Mendes at him. So I mean, careful what you ask for. But I expect a respectable showing by Elkins. I do think he could put out some surprises, but I think the difference here is going to be the stand-up game. I think Elkins has got the rare combination of really powerful wrestling, but with some excellent guard passing and submission grappling knowledge. And I do think he's a little smoother in that aspect than Mendes, but I think Mendes has a slight edge in wrestling and a substantial edge in the striking, and that'll be the difference.
Mendes is stumbled a bit, but he stumbled on a big stair, man.
Right.
There's no shame in that stumble. So the guy didn't get to 13-1 by accident. He wasn't. These guys with the 400 fights. One guy told me, I was at Gold's Gym, 400 fights. He lost one. 400 to 1. I was like,
Hicks and Gracie. That was Hicks and Gracie.
Yeah, no, this guy was named Ed something or other, and I met him because he was writing on the mirror in Gold's Gym. It was a steamy night, and he's writing, "Have no fear, Ed is here." And I'm like, I gotta talk to this guy. So what's the name of that? And he's doing like these spinning kicks in the air, and I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, man, 400 to 1, Jack. I said, I don't even if I don't care if you're running over to the local schoolyard beating junior high school students. If you had won 400 fights, I would have heard of him.
We've all gone through that stage. The scrawling, prophecies on steamy mirrors, whilst spinning back kicking. While wearing traditional Indian loincloth. Right.
I mentioned that. I love this guy, man. He's a complete, total. He's an outlier. Anyway, okay.
You meet some of the. I've met a bunch of dudes at the gym that you would not believe the shit that falls out of their mouth. Oh yeah, Tito Ortiz. Well, I've trained with Tito for a while, but I kept hurting his knee, so I don't know what the fuck his problem was. So
hey, man, I was at some porn industry party because I used to do this porn review website in Hollywood, and so I'm walking with a cane after the Kung Lee thing when he fucked up my leg. And some Russian guy comes up to me and goes, how'd you screw up your leg? I go, training with Kung. He goes, oh, you fight? He goes, my cousin is Oleg Taktarov, And I'm like, cool, man. But I knew I was in trouble when the guy said at one point after he had a few vodkas, he goes, Eugene, you and me are the only real men in here.
That's a badge of honor, though, to have a true Russian hopped up on vodka, tell you that,
Yeah, no. For me, it was exactly where it was going. It progressed from there to him throwing ice at the bartender, threatening the bouncer, because now he's like got some backup. It's like, fuck, man, I got a cane, okay? I'm not about to, on a reconstructed knee, fight with people for you, So then I go to a fight after that down at the Staples Center, and who should be sitting next to me cage side but Oleg? I go, hey, man, I just met your cousin. And he goes, cousin?
No cousin.
He goes, I have no cousin, So it was great. The guy just went whole hog, fabricated from top to bottom, whole cloth, his relationship with Oleg Taktarov,
Well, that's another stage we've all been through. Let's keep rolling. I hate this fight. I want to talk about this fight because I hate it. It pains me. Matt Brown and Jordan Meehan.
Why does it pain you?
I love both of these dudes. Matt Brown is like, I used to jokingly call him the American Kazushi Sakuraba, kind of
Yeah.
because what we talked about before, because he's a dude that will come out and gain respect with his performance every single time.
Yeah.
And, I like the dude. You know, it's I don't know. He's a hard nose. He barely, you know, he's kind of like Josh Neer. He seems like such a born fighter. He almost has no personality because
Yeah.
you know, he doesn't feel comfortable with a mic in his face. He's just a true hardcore fighter. And Jordan Meehan, I think, is a horrendous matchup for him.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting enough. I talked to a friend of mine that interviewed Robert De Niro, and he said the same thing about De Niro. He was like, it was really weird. The guy's turned in such great performances, but sitting across from him for an hour and a half, he just felt like the guy wasn't there, man. Like without the performances, the man doesn't exist. You know, this was about 20 years ago, before he was a father, and kids have a way of humbling you because they don't give a shit what movies you've been in. But I thought that was interesting. But
We got to hang out sometime. You got some shit going on.
hey, man, we'll do it as long as we don't have to do it in Michigan.
No, that's the whole thing. Come up to Michigan, bring the Seeger band. We'll
got
cow
that
tip.
old records on the shelf. Okay.
We'll cow tip. We'll wear sweatpants and pajamas, and we'll eat and make a shirt plate. So you just put your food.
Sweatpants and pajamas. That means I'd have to get dressed from where I am now. So. But so okay. I mean, so you hate this, but why do you just because why? Because it holds a certain amount of peril.
I like both guys. I really hate to see either of them lose, and I think Meehan is a terrible matchup for Brown. Brown's going to be looking to close range and just make it a brawl in the phone booth range, and Meehan is too polished. His stand-up, the kid is he strikes like a veteran. His timing, his footwork, his finesse, all his stand-up shit is looking really, really good. So I think it's going to be a bad matchup for my boy.
Yeah. See, what's bad for you in this instance, very much like life, is good for everybody else, though.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be a great fight. I feel like Brown is going to take, and that's why I respect the dude. You know, he lets punches bounce off his beard like whatever. You know, so and I see that happen a lot. I see Jordan Meehan scoring smoothly from the outside, and Meehan's brutal when he gets inside too. Knees and those short elbows like that. He collaborates.
Again, depends all on where Cecil Peoples is. He's like the 60. He's like the 60-foot shark. He's out there somewhere you don't know, making decisions about things that he shouldn't touch. You know.
Bigger boat. Need a bigger boat.
And yes, go ahead.
You got to pick on that one, Brown?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick against your guy. I'll go with Jordan just for the hell of it.
Well, I'm going with Meehan too. I think he's going to win.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That was my whole point. I'd like to see these. I think I hate to say my personal opinion is I'd see this going hard for Jordan Meehan. And
okay, all right.
I think it's going to be a bad night for Brown.
And a fair weather fan and friend you are. Oh no, I like Scott, but no way am I picking him. Yeah, my dollars are way too valuable. You know. All right. Well, then I'll go the other way. I'll pick your guy.
All right, that's fine. I mean, I used to do. It's always a struggle. Do you have that struggle picking total logic, like not taking any emotion in? I hate doing that.
I can't do it. I don't. Even if I say I'm doing it, then something, some aspect of the guy's personal story will create. Like I used to be a Tim Sylvia hater, and then I heard about something of his family history. Guy fucking won my heart, man.
Tim's a good cat.
As a fighter, then I met the guy and I liked him, and then I heard about his personal story. I was like, man, I'm pulling for that guy. Not a sound decision to make a decision, but that's how I went with that. So,
well, to me, it's no fun. It takes all the fun out. It's like picking Nick Diaz to beat GSP. Hell yeah, it's a terrible matchup for him. But hell yeah, I was going to pick Nick just because that's all the excitement. You know what I mean?
That's what I did too. That's what I did as well.
Good man.
And that case has developed in a really interesting way, man. Like people were thinking, Nick is just continuing this kind of vexatious, and he's like, smoke, fire, maybe. And he's like, there were shenanigans with the weight, shenanigans with the drug test, whatever, man. Then those shenanigans, give me another shot. I don't know that I really want to see that fight again, but I like the way he's proceeding post-fight. Not just whining, but whining with distinct, focused intent,
Yeah, because Nick, that's one thing a lot of people don't like. I know that's one Dana doesn't like. He doesn't play the game or whatever. And this is an aspect where Nick doesn't really give a shit. He just wants to fight. I'm glad he's just hopefully not going to retire. Like you said, I think that was an emotional decision.
Well, they've also made some changes. They moved in friend of knuckle up Mike Cogan with Nate at least. So maybe Nick will come over. Still Team Cesar Gracie, but maybe some managerial decisions that'll allow the guy to focus a bit. And Kogan is a bright guy, and maybe will actually suggest, game changes. Because the thing is, if a guy is not an A-level fighter, Kogan doesn't make any money off of him. So he needs the fighters. He is just in charge of managerial stuff, but he needs the fighters to perform for him to be able to perform. So
And as good as the Diaz brothers are, and as much as I love and respect the pair as fighters, their games have not significantly changed over the years. I think they've gotten better what they were already good at, but there's a few I think they could be due for a change in a few areas.
Well, and it's just, I mean, we're not even talking areas, right? I mean, all we're talking about, right? Really, I mean, come on, it's a wrestling piece, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about, man, and it's like, Kogan is not a stupid guy. Sees that. We got some good talent. We've had over at Team Sarah, we've had Mark Schultz in there. Wouldn't take much, man. Wouldn't take much.
Well, and don't you agree it's a mentality thing with them? Because it's not that they're poor wrestlers. They just don't give a shit. If a guy's coming in, they'll try to swat him 3 or 4 times standing upright, as opposed to getting down in sprawl position. They don't give a shit.
And I think that's wherein the problem is. I think they don't feel like a guy who wins the way a wrestler wins is really winning shit, And that's a 209 talking.
To an extent, I agree in a way, because we're getting way off now, and I don't even want to open this can of worms, but I've talked about this in the past with Nate on these kind of shows, that I still think wrestling is way overvalued. I mean, if you get a takedown, if you think about what you're doing, it's a transference. There's offense, which is effective striking and grappling, and I don't consider a takedown on the same level as that, because you're simply forcing your opponent from the standing position to the grappling position. So to me, that's nothing. That's not.
Except keep in mind, the tagline is as real as it gets. If I'm taking the superior position in a street fight, my chance to convert that into a win with a guy who's unschooled is pretty high.
I don't consider that a superior position. Is it a superior position if you take down, Aoki, Damian Maya? It's not. It's all. Right. It's whatever. I just let whatever happens.
In a street fight, yeah.
Street fight, yeah. But I mean, I look at that as neutral. Okay, so the guy wanted it, from standing onto the ground. Now that he's got it there, to me, I look at it as a means to an end. Okay, you must have wanted it there. You better do some shit. Just getting that takedown, sitting on top and throwing some ineffective ground and pound and getting the stand up, to me, that's not shit. That's not shit.
Yeah, that's sort of an ugly way to win. But fortunately, you know what? I'm not aware of too many, outside of Ben Askren, I'm not aware of too many guys who are routinely making their wins that way. So
No, and I'm not saying, I'm looking at it not as like these people do that. I'm looking at it as different segments of a fight we see all the time. There can be any kind of fighter, and the way I always look at it is, if there's a guy on top throwing these little hammer fists, if they were standing up in the clinch and the guy was, with this much velocity, would you really score that as like an effective, something that's going to shift that wouldn't, I don't know. I look at a lot of that as neutral. If you want, go out and win the damn round,
Right.
So anyways, all right.
Anyway, okay, so
where the hell we at?
Weed.
Speaking of, that was a good segue. Next up is Nate Diaz, Josh Thomson. I'm really hyped for this fight.
I agonized over this, but again, a friend of Knuckle Up is Josh Thomson. I find the guy's personal politics completely and totally repellent. The fact that I'm even mentioning his personal politics means in my mind that they've intruded enough on my understanding that I feel like I have to mention them. But and he and I are Facebook friends, so I'm exposed to his way too frequent Tea Party blast. And I'm like, man, how can I even if the guy's a friend of Knuckle Up, how can I support this freaking idiocy? But I think he's winning this, because I don't see. I mean, he's got eyes. He saw Nate's last fight. It plays to his strengths, man. I mean, are you seeing things differently on this?
I look at Josh Thomson as one of the most consummately overlooked and underrated lightweights in the game. And I mean, if you just look at, everyone almost unanimously considers Gilbert Melendez the number 2 or the number 3 lightweight in the world. To
Mhm.
me, Josh Thomson has been dead even with him. He beat him
Yep.
once, he lost the second time. The second or the third fight, to me, that was like a draw. I
Yeah,
mean,
it was a
either
draw. It was a
it
clear
should have
draw.
been, man. I mean, either way, he proved to me he's proven that he's on that top 2, top 3 in the world level,
Yep.
or at least he's on the same level as Gilbert Melendez, and everyone wants Gil there.
Yep.
So, man, I hate picking against. I rarely pick against. It's like Diaz brothers and Nogueira brothers. I hardly ever pick against them. All right, just because
But
we'll keep
also
it
these
out.
guys, they're also known associates. I mean, Jake and Josh are personal friends outside. So I think all the things that make a Diaz fight a kind of fight that you like to see, the trash stuff, I think it's going to be kind of low on that. So I think in terms of profile, extra fight action, I think it'll be low on that kind of stuff. But you know, but I think it'll be a good fight. But I'm not seeing. I'm sad to not see Nate. Well, who knows what'll happen? But I think I'm going to have to pick Josh on this one.
It
So
seems like Josh is all of the biggest influence in his fight is whether how explosive he is, because he's had a couple. The thing with he's fought good with Gilbert, but then in a couple other fights like the Jay-Z fight and a couple other ones, man, he seemed to and I mean his knee. How many times is it? Like 3-4 times he's had that fucking
yeah, it's because of
reworked.
AKA, man. He's like one of the smallest guys at AKA, and those guys go fucking hard all the time. You need to get mix in some middleweights down. There's some guys that are not. It's tough.
I think he's going to struggle, even though he's got excellent kickboxing. I think he's going to struggle a little bit with Nate's cadence and his reach on the feet. So for him to win, I think it's going to be all about his ability to drop levels for takedowns and his entries, how he formats his entries.
He's
That's the way I
got
see him winning.
he's got a great this thing he does, man. He's got a great like a single leg takedown, but it's got a weird twist on it that really super successful always. And that single move, like he and I were supposed to roll together, and I was having agonies over that move because I couldn't come up with a way to stop it. I'm hoping Nate, of course, training with Jake, probably has maybe worked on that, but I don't know.
Well, when Josh is on, he sets up his takedowns really, really well, and he does it with kicks too, with combinations. He's not the kind of so set it up with a strike, so they'll totally just half pass, something up here and drop. But Josh will string together a real nice combo, like right, left, high kick, and then drop levels. I think I know what you're talking about. That single leg, he cuts a new angle really well.
Yep.
So once he drops down for it, he'll cut one angle, and once he gets a hold of it and goes to finish it, he'll pivot over and cut another one, which is
Yep.
really underrated aspect of takedowns. You can get off center on the guy, and Josh does really well with that. I'm going to take Nate, though.
Good. We got some action then. All right.
Yeah, because I hate picking against, but I think it's another one where I want to give Josh a lot of credit. I think he's always been overlooked, and he's a great lightweight. This is going to be a tough fight for him. I don't know if Nate, I'm kind of thinking it might be a little too ballsy. That Nate might be able to sub him in a scramble.
I don't know, man. Anything to keep him from sending me more Facebook postings about Tea Party shit and about how the socialists have taken over the fire department. And God forbid that your house should catch fire. No, I don't want socialist firemen putting out the fire. I don't want to go political here. Let's finish it off. We got what? One or two more, right?
Two more, Cormier and Mir.
Cormier, friend of knuckle up. Mir can't stop him.
I don't think so either, but I'm a big fan of Frank too. I hope most of the picks we're doing, I hope people realize we're trying to make it interesting. I might take Frank on this one as kind of just like a fuck it pick, because I really like Frank.
Usually with wrestlers, the problem is that they don't put any time or effort really into learning submissions. But I think that's not even going to be an issue here. I don't think Frank is going to try or bother or care to have his grappling go toe-to-toe, and I think he probably figures his best bet is standing up with Cormier. But that's a big mistake, man. The stand-up guy, I mean, it's American Kickboxing Academy. Boxing, those guys, all of their hands have come up that he's been training with Kane, so
And Cormier's stand-up is looking good too,
yeah,
man. He almost throws a little bit like I hate to say it. I thought about saying it at the time when they was in Strikeforce. Hold on, my bad. But he almost throws his hands a little bit like Fedor because
yeah,
it's not this real
yeah,
tight straight. It's a
yep,
lot of like loop and corkscrew
yep,
type of
yep.
thing, which
Yep.
hard timing, weird trajectories it's coming in at. But I'll
Oh,
take
so you're picking Daniel.
no. I mean, I think he's going to
Oh,
win.
no,
Actually,
no,
I
you
think
picked me. That's right. For the sake of
I
argument.
yeah, I think Cormier is going to be favored against most heavyweights and deserves to
Right.
be against Frank. But I'm going to take Frank here. He's always full of surprises. He has actually done a really good job of, I think, rounding out not only his game but his training, his physical side. So it's a little bit of a long shot.
I really enjoy the insane angle, the insane take he has on Brock Lesnar.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love that. Brock was never, frankly, he was never the same after he fought me. I twisted him up so bad. Maybe I caused his diverticulitis. It's like, all right, Frank.
Well,
Yeah.
from a really I guess objective point of view though, after Brock fought him the second time and he showed some good BJJ tech because he got that little mini can opener and
Yep.
I mean just and he did that with one hand. I mean that was like cradling the head and he cranked his neck just enough where Mir could not move at
Yep.
all.
Yep.
That was to me. I thought, ooh man, if he keeps adding a little technique to that raw brutality, he's really going to be a force.
Yes, yes, if.
He
Yeah,
dropped off after he
if
did drop
Hitler had
off.
invaded a little bit earlier, if. I'm glad to see Lesnar go. Sorry. Yeah.
That's I didn't like him at first, but I started to become a little bit more of a fan of him after that. But all right, anyways, let's wrap this shit up. Bendo and
Were you
Gil.
a fan before or after he flipped off the unconscious Frank Mir?
Well, no, I didn't. I didn't like the whole man. I mean, that's like MMA's worst nightmare. We went through years saying we're not pro wrestling, we're not that, and then even though yeah, he had a real legit college wrestling background, all of a sudden, brush cut pro wrestlers coming in slobbering all over the cage, flipping people off.
Yeah,
That was a little bit.
slobber too.
That was a little bit of the MMA elitist in me, going,
Yeah.
"Hey, this
And I,
is
and
right."
I don't care if you're gonna fuck your wife unless you're gonna make a video of it. So yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. All right, so Bendo and Gil, main event, last one.
Oh, I picked Gil, man.
Did you really?
Friend of Knuckle Up, and yeah, because I mean, I feel in my heart of hearts that Henderson is going to take it, but I think the ways in which he can take it, Gil is not blind to. And if he's not blind to them, he could have spent the last few months focused on only that. But this is the moment. This is the moment that the guys live for, and Gil, in my mind, has never failed to live up to the occasion. Occasionally, latter day Gil, he has. If it's not, I mean, which is why I'm glad he says he was injured against the Pat Healy thing, but latter day Gil, if it was a fight that he didn't really feel like he needed to show up for, like I thought that was a syndrome, like he said so himself with the third Josh Thomson fight. It was just hard to get it up for that fight for him. He's like whatever. But I see him as being focused, lasered. I got guys who are training with him, rolling with him now. I think it'll be a great fight. I'm going to pick him just to be a contrarian.
I think this is going to be a dog fight. I mean, I think this is going to be like nasty. These guys are going to get in each other's faces. What I'm really looking forward to is seeing how Gil's stand-up is something that to me it's been a little bit of a moving target. I didn't think it was all not poor, but I didn't think it was real impressive A-list. But then he smashed Kawajiri the second time, and then I was real impressed with what he did to Masvidal because I thought Masvidal was gonna. I don't want to say expose. That makes it sound like Gil's stand-up is piss poor. It's not. I thought George was gonna have a significant edge in the stand-up. So I was real surprised with how well Gil's boxing. His boxing looked more polished than it had in a while. But then with the Masvidal hand thing afterwards, I'm not saying that was an excuse, but then it didn't make it a clear.
You start to get on some kind of backgrounder stuff. The guy opened up a new school. He has a new baby. I mean, the kid's now maybe 2 years old. Life pressures start to, not intrude, but start to create struggle spaces sometimes for a fighter. The fighter as a man. So But fortunately, his wife is she's a fighter as well. So this should help in terms of everybody being on the same page with being focused for the fight. So, I mean, there are a lot of knowable, unknowable knowns and knowable knowns, and I don't know. He's been a guy in my mind who showed up, and I'm expecting he'll show up here. Whether it's enough to make a difference, unknown. But I'm liking his chances.
All right, I'm glad I just remembered this. We're done. We're going to wrap it up, but I finally got shirts in.
Oh, I don't know what that is, but I like it.
Kailbon, my boy Marcelo Brigadero, who he's a student of Master Marcio Cromado Barbosa. I think that they've single-handedly been behind the resurge in Lucha Libre, coming back into MMA.
Yeah.
Let's see, Cramado's down in Brazil at the Hanalvacao fight team, and Brigadero's the grappling coach at Team Kailbon. I'm going to try to get him on pretty quick here, but he finally hooked us up with some nice, look at that.
Whoa, I want one. My coach is a Lucha Libre guy as well, so I'm a big fan. So
Who's that?
Leopoldo Serrao.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, his last fight was against David Loiseau. So
yeah, we don't have a chance to talk. We'll have to talk about that. But this one, look at this bad boy. This one's a long sleeve. It's got Kailbon down the side. So I got 2 of these already due from a couple of our long-term viewers or listeners, whatever. Dennis and Mark. I'll have these coming out to you pretty soon. And forever, I used to bullshit for the 12. Loyal followers we always had watching us live. I have shit to give out now, actually. And
this is what Dallas. This is why I love this guy. He's a pro. I got bookish. I got nothing to give you listeners except a hearty handshake and a kind word, and maybe not even the kind word. So
well, shit, you can even get some Sorrel shirts, right?
What's that?
You can even get like some Team Sorrel shirts. Right?
Plus, and Skull Game, the guys who sponsor SkullGame.com, they sponsor my show. I love those shirts. I got those too. So
there you go. Hook it up.
I sent one out to one listener because he guessed something, and so I got it. I sent him a shirt. He did not say thank you, so I'm assuming he got it. So anyway, okay, all right, we should go so we can.
All right, good show.
All right, man. Next week.
All right, man.
Later. Bye.
Later.